Okay, so this student is asking in preparation for an essay that needs to be written, what's an invention that could solve a problem for people in everyday life? And I've actually thought about this one, and I actually wrote an essay on this myself. Um, uh, and this is the problem of social media, because with social media today we have Twitter, we have Facebook, and in many of these social media platforms that we have, we're expected to communicate and to share and relate to people in very short formats. And that's partially because there's so many people communicating at the same time, so it kind of makes sense for everyone to share just a tiny bit, and to then increase the variety of number of people that we can read uh, in return, and therefore you have more of a community and that sort of thing. But then on the other hand, it's based on frequency, and the frequency of social media is primarily driven by the profit motive, of course, because the more frequency that there is, the more addicted people become to the medium and that sort of thing. So one invention that has struck me is actually specifically on the question of the essay itself. So you're being asked to write an essay on this question. Well, actually, I think the format of an essay itself is something that is really lacking in our society today, because there's so much emphasis on these short Twitter tweets and Facebook posts that people aren't going very in depth with anything that they write or read. And we've come out of the era of the book, of the long 2-hour film and things like that, and now we have very short video clips and very short social media posts. So one idea might be a form of social media that is still based upon interaction and interactivity, but that maybe encourages people to relate to each other through writing an essay. And so, this is when I was in graduate school. This was basically the way that we, the way that myself and my colleagues and fellow graduate students interacted whenever we were engaging in serious thought. We would cite each other. We would read each other's papers. We would cite each other for the arguments that had been made in previous papers. And then we would kind of respond to that. And very similar to the way that in Facebook or Twitter, people make a post and immediately have comments back. And then this just kind of goes on all day long, 24/7, 365. But the idea of the essay itself is potentially a way out of the problems that come along with social media, in the sense that there's no reason why there couldn't be a platform that is focused upon much longer forms of writing, but is also based upon doing this in an interactive way. You could have a requirement, for example, in a social media forum, in which you cannot make a post that is shorter than 1,000 words. Right now, there's for Twitter or Facebook, the limit is actually on the other side. It can't be too long. So what if you said that you're not allowed to post in this imaginary social media forum unless it's at least 1,000 words and no more than 3,000 words? If that were the case, and the whole point was to interact with other people, then perhaps we would have more in-depth discussions, and maybe people would take each other a little bit more seriously, and get to know a little bit more about who they were interacting with before they make assumptions and things like that. And so yeah, that's one invention that could maybe solve a problem, and the problem with social media being just a kind of surface level type of interaction. So maybe you could have a more in-depth type of interaction through essays, actually.